Hi, Sunny Hill. This is Joe Locke with you this week for your small groups. I'm in the car because it's hard to find a quiet spot in my in-laws' house. It was great being with you guys this Sunday for service, and it's also my privilege to be able to share a bit of my story with you and kind of what God has been doing in my life and hopefully what He's doing in yours. So just to give a bit of a recap, I shared a bit of my testimony of how my parents grew up in China during a very difficult time where they weren't exposed to religion at all, and also had this drive to succeed and to perform and to achieve, because that's what ultimately led to their literal ticket out of China and into America, the promised land. So my sister and I grew up in an atmosphere where we were very much expected to perform and achieve, and this idea of ambition and making a name for yourself and performing was very, very important to us. Not just important, it was the idol in our lives. And kind of everything in me had this thing where I needed to make a name for myself, or I felt like I need to get these things for myself to feel secure, as if my life depended on it. And so even though I did very well in many aspects of life, I was still driven by this desire to get more, to feel safe, to have enough money to finally feel secure. And although I became a Christian at 13, it took me a number of years of really serving in church and doing all of the right things and saying the right things and even serving in the right places before I got to the point where I felt like, wait, why am I singing these songs if I don't mean them? And how can I say these things to God? I'm not just saying them in front of a congregation, but I'm singing these songs, this song of worship to the Lord, and looking at myself, if I were to really be honest, I don't really mean what I say, or I don't really know what it means. So coming to this point where I had to make a decision, do I continue on with my life the way that it was before, or do I stop and give God a small opportunity to work in my life? So I went to Africa. It really was for me, and to satisfy my pride and my image conscious self than really anything to serve God. But when I went, God showed me how much pride had invaded my life, how it was my lifestyle and my reason of being. And then He showed me a better way. He showed me that if I submit to Him, if I really wanted to surrender, that He would give me life and life everlasting. And He highlighted for me this verse from Matthew 16. And it's that Jesus said to His disciples, if anyone would follow me, he must deny himself, take up his cross daily, and follow me. So if we were really to look at this verse, what does it mean and what does it imply? It says, if anyone would follow me. So if anybody wants to take that step to follow Jesus, I think that we all want to be followers of Jesus, not just participators in a church, sitting there, wasting your time, enjoying the atmosphere. It's not really what life is for. Life is meant to be lived, and Jesus is meant to be followed, not just to be experienced. So if we want to take that active step, then He says you must deny yourself. That means laying down the things that are precious to you, precious to me, and things that we are holding on to. And He says, take up your cross. So what does it mean to take up your cross? The cross is the place where you die. The cross is the place where Jesus died, and He laid down His life and surrendered to the will of the Father. Jesus died on the cross, and we died on the cross as well. It says in Galatians that I've been crucified with Christ. It's no longer I who live, but Christ with me, and Christ in me. And so we go to the cross daily and we die to ourselves. Not literally, although I don't know. Yeah, the missionaries and martyrs of old did take that literally, and they did go and they did die for Jesus. But I think that in very practical terms, it means dying to the self wants, things that you are holding on to bolster your own sense of identity, things or rights that you're holding on to because you think, oh, if I don't do this for myself, who will? And to follow me. So if anyone will follow me, he must deny himself, take up his cross. Oh, and it says take up your cross daily. So it's not just a one-time thing that you commit in church one Sunday, but to keep doing this every single day of your life and to follow him. And following is an action. It's a step of obedience. It takes movement and it takes intentionality. And it's our choice. It's our choice if we want to follow him. And it's our choice if we feel like it's a lot. And honestly, like, it is a lot. There is a cost. And so it is a choice that we need to get real with God and to ask him, am I ready to really follow you with all of my heart? Am I ready to lay down my life, whatever that looks like? For me, that looks like laying down my career, saying yes to life as a missionary, unsalaried, unsure of what the future would look like, not sure if I would ever get married, not sure, if I would ever have a family of my own, just saying yes to whatever nation or place that God would send me to, because I felt like my life is not my own. I have sang these words for so many years now, and now it's time to start living them. If Jesus is worthy, then he's worthy of everything. And that was another thing that we wanted to conclude with today, because Jesus is worthy. If there is a God, then he's worthy of everything. If there's a creator of the universe, doesn't he deserve our whole worship and our whole adoration? If we really believe these things that we say about God, that he is all powerful, that he's all knowing, that he's from the beginning of time until the end of eternity, that he knows each and single one of us, that he alone is the righteous judge. If such a God really exists, doesn't he deserve our worship and our adoration, and for us to fall flat on our faces before him? If there's a creator of the universe, the universe that we've not really even begun to understand yet, isn't he worthy of our worship? But lordship, we are able to say that Jesus is Lord, not just because he is worthy, although he is, just on account of who God is alone. He is worthy of our worship. But we also are able to give him our lives and say, Jesus, you are the Lord of my life, because he's trustworthy. He's not just worthy, he is trustworthy. When you look at Jesus, you can see who he is. He is gentle. He is humble of heart. He's meek and he's patient. And we all have testimonies of how Jesus has worked in our lives, of his goodness to us, his patience, how he saved us from sin when we didn't deserve it. When I didn't deserve it, Jesus came and he lifted me up and he said, I'm a miracle working God. I can and I will and I have saved you. Jesus is so kind to us. And I found in my life that as I handed over these things that I was holding on so tightly to, my career and my reputation and my family and all of my dreams, that he was so gentle to them. The things that were precious to me are also precious to him. He doesn't just throw them away because he's some tyrant or, some power-hungry ruler. No, Jesus, he's the king of my heart. He's trustworthy. And so I learned that in giving over my life and laying down my life for him, that I really, truly started to live. In the Bible, it talks about how in Revelation, there are 24 elders who sit before the throne of God, casting their crowns repeatedly before the throne and saying, "Holy, holy, holy are you, Lord God Almighty." And that's what they do from now until the end of eternity. And we were saying on Sunday that I don't believe that the crowns magically reappear on their heads every time they lay them down. But I believe that God comes and he takes the crowns that are at his feet and he puts them back on the heads of the elders. And I think that's what God does with us as well. He takes the things that we've laid down before him and he redeems them in his own time, and he makes them better than anything we could have done for ourselves. Pride says, "This is all for me. I need to do this all for myself." But God says, pride says, "This is all for me. I can do it all myself." But Lordship says, "God, this is all for you. You can do this so much better than I can." So I want to challenge you guys again today and for the rest of your lives. If there's something that I'm scared to let go of, if there's anything that you feel like, maybe you feel like I've been a Christian for a long time, but I haven't really experienced the power or the joy or, what's this fullness of life that everyone else seems to have. But I want to suggest that maybe the next step is to do as Jesus says. If you really want to follow me, you need to deny yourself and take up your cross daily and follow me. That means laying down our lives, laying down our preferences and saying, "No longer, Jesus, am I in charge of my life. I let go," in big and small areas, and kind of going through your heart and seeing where there have been maybe strongholds of fear or things that I've been afraid to let go of, or places where I feel really hesitant, or I feel like, "Oh God, I don't know if I can trust you with that. This thing, isn't it right for me to hold on to?" But Jesus says, if I'm to be Lord, then I will be Lord of all. And not only is he worthy of our all, but he's also trustworthy. So I want to challenge you guys and bless you guys with that today. Thank you so much, Sunny Hill, for obeying and loving the Lord and for walking with us in this journey. Bless you guys.